Welcome back, everyone, to another episode of fan.dom.com, where fans are always on top. I have a very special guest today. Special guest, how about you introduce yourself?
Hi, my name is Cade Prater-Burgess. Thank you, Olivia, for inviting me on here.
Do you have anything that you want to plug? Any social media? Any things that you're working on?
Oh, well, I can tell you for right now, I have no social media whatsoever, but I can say that I'm working on a web series called Tales of Phantasmagoria, and the second season premieres on YouTube on October 1st of this year.
And they are also on Twitter. I follow them on the fan.dom.com Twitter, and I'll retweet a lot of their work as well. So you can I'll also have information about their Twitter.
The first 4 episodes are available for free on YouTube right now.
Are you guys planning to do a Vimeo thing where people have to pay to see it?
That is not a question for me. As far as I know, we're staying on YouTube. But right now we're just still in the planning grounds of season 2. Mm-hmm. We're about to launch into pre-production.
All right, cool. So I know Cade because we are both a part of the Texas State Film Club, and I guess that's where we met.
Yeah.
You're what, a year younger than me?
Something like I'm turning 21 in June.
So yeah, you're like a year younger than me, and you're a junior or a
sophomore.
Oh my god, you're a baby. You're a baby.
I'm a baby, but I'm not baby.
Yeah. So I just wanted to do a little intro about who you are, because I know you through film. So what do you do? What do you do through film?
Well, I like to write screenplays and direct them if I can. I've actually, in the last couple of semesters, I gained a new creative partner named Taylor Wright, and she is just like the other half of my brain, just able to give me so many great ideas and able to keep me so motivated and inspired. And she's actually going to direct an episode of Tales Season 2.
Oh, that's good. And you don't have any social media?
Nope.
Do you even have a YouTube to put your work on? And
we share a joint YouTube together. It's called Indelible Image Productions. We have one short film on there right now called A Truly Stupid Night. However, I will say I think there is a social media I have. Have you heard of an app called Letterboxd?
Isn't that the movie reviewing?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I have.
Yeah.
So for those of you who don't know, Letterboxd is this website or app created by this small team of cinephiles in New Zealand, where you can log all of the movies or shorts or mini series that you watch in your lifetime. And you can go on there and see your friends and see what their interests in film are. You can make lists of it. It's really cool. My username is CineLove.
Yeah, so I know what we're talking about today, and I am a little surprised, because you're such a literal cine lover. So I thought you would talk about a movie or a certain director, but no. Tell us what we're talking about today.
We're talking about the art form and literal sport of marching band.
And that's why I was so thrown off. So, what I know about marching band is... Okay, well, when I was in high school, I was a big, big theater nerd. But I had a lot of friends that were in marching band. Mm-hmm. And I'm not gonna sugarcoat this. Band is a cult. Marching band, especially, is a cult. Because I feel like, if you're working in unison with all these people, you are a hive mind in marching band, because you have to be in unison. And all the movement looks just so like it's a ritual of sorts. So, and I've seen I've had friends who were in marching band, and the way they act, and it was just so cult-like. Well, and talking to my friends who have escaped marching band.
Escaped.
Yeah, they escaped the cult. They always say oh yeah, it was a cult. But tell me your position on it.
Well, I would argue, aren't theater kids essentially a cult in and of themselves because they are moving in a unison as well?
How I difference it, I always said that marching band was a cult and theater was a weird orgy.
What's the difference?
One is more sticky.
Okay, well, okay, I'll tell you. There is a lot of promiscuity in a marching band, more than you people would probably expect.
I
Okay,
know.
so here's my. I'll just break down my experience as I experienced it. So the first time I heard about marching band or really became aware of it was in a episode of SpongeBob SquarePants called Band Geeks, and I watched that on a DVD set of some old episodes when I was younger, and I watched the heck out of that thing. I memorized those episodes front to back, and Band Geeks still remains my favorite one. And I remember watching that, and I was like, "Oh, this is really silly. It's really cool and funny." And kind of became reacquainted with the show my senior year of high school. I guess because I was kind of just looking back, like, what are some of the things I liked as a kid, and do they hold up as now that I'm a full-grown man?
Mm-hmm. A full-grown man.
Yes,
and a senior in high school.
I was 18.
Yeah, a full-grown man.
Yes, I was a man-child. Anyway.
I do have to say that episode of SpongeBob, especially that time of SpongeBob, it was at its peak.
Yes,
especially Band Geeks.
Oh, and
Band Geeks and Chocolate, the chocolate selling one, are like top tier SpongeBob episodes.
And rest in peace, Steven Hillenburg.
Oh yeah.
And but I became reacquainted with the show my senior year of high school, and I think I laughed harder as an 18-year-old man watching it than I did as a kid because I now knew all the nuances and little references. And that episode is actually way more accurate than some people give it credit for. Mm-hmm. Like, holy shit, it's so accurate. Just like how they interact, like their sayings, like Mr. Krabs saying, "When do we get the free food?" We would get free food a lot, but given that we were often away at games or at competitions or in practice, it wasn't very common. Mm-hmm. So I think I have to take you back to when I first started in it. So,
well, okay. Yeah. So first off, your first interaction, your first sighting of marching band was when you were a kid.
Yes.
And you were watching it, and you're like, yes. I don't get this form of art, but it's funny because SpongeBob.
Yes.
So when did you pick up an instrument and say, this is what I want to do?
So, it's funny you mentioned that. So, I started... Oh, crap. How long ago was that?
Did you play mayonnaise? Is mayonnaise an instrument?
Depending on how you use the bottle, the cap, and the mayonnaise itself, it is an instrument. I started taking piano lessons when I was about... I had to be at least, 9 or 10. Mm-hmm. Because I wanted to learn how to play the guitar. And then... in 5th grade, I took up drumming lessons because I thought, chicks dig the drum player. Mm-hmm. And I said, this is actually really cool. Are there any things in middle school that kind of offer this kind of program? Because in my elementary school, the only real music we had was we were forced to play the recorders, and it was disgusting.
Hot cross buns. Those are terrible.
No, not even that song. It was something else, but anyway...
So you played the piano, and then you moved to the drums.
Yes.
Then you played hot cross buns.
And then 6th grade, I joined the concert band in my middle school, and I played the percussion section, which essentially, for those who don't know, when there's a band, the percussion section is always in the back of the concert. It would be all these types of different percussion instruments. You have various types of keyboards. You have the snare drum, the bass drum, the timpanis, any sort of accessories like a cowbell or triangle.
Oh, always need more cowbell.
Of course, unless you, then you'll get a fever. Anyway, that was going well for 6th grade, and then I continued all the way through middle school, and I realized, oh wow, so I went to O. Henry Middle School in Austin, Texas, And then I transferred to Stephen F. Austin High School for high school. A lot of my friends were going there too, and some of them that I knew in the band were also going to be in the band in high school. So I figured, okay, why not? I really like this. Let's see where it goes. I just want to preface, I can't speak for all of the marching bands in the United States, but in the state of Texas, in most schools, marching band substitutes a PE credit. It was May of 2014, my 8th grade, and all my friends were getting ready to graduate middle school and move on to high school. But before I even got there, we started a very early pre-summer camp where we got to know some of the old upperclassmen, where we got to meet the directors, and we got acquainted with how it worked. Like they would say, okay, these are your sections. You gotta, these are the basic exercises we're gonna do, like roll toe, row foot, row heel, and you will say dot, 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 dot a lot. And that metronome will get stuck in your head, even in your sleep. And I can profess, now every time I hear music, all I can think of is like, what the metronome might sound like.
So what you're saying is you have marching band PTSD.
Listen, okay, so I got there and I thought, okay, this sounds cool. And then we had a very early thing for percussion camp because we had to see like, okay, what instrument in percussion, whether it's drum line, cymbal line, or front ensemble, which was what I was in.
Mm-hmm.
Which one do you feel most comfortable with or most physically okay with? I couldn't do any marching because I have physical muscle deficiencies in the right side of my body. So I decided to go for the front ensemble. And the thing is, there were only so many spots, and you have marimbas, which are basically like huge wooden keyboards, vibraphones, which are essentially like glorified pianos with metal things and a pedal. You had
Are those the ones where you hit?
Yes.
Okay.
Both of those are the ones you hit. Then you have the bells, the xylophone. You have the rack, which is essentially all these accessories I talked to you about in concert band in middle school, like a bass drum, cowbell, and whatnot. And then you had what I was. I played the synthesizer, which, if you don't know, is essentially an electronic piano or keyboard with all these different sounds that you can adjust or add depending on what show you have.
Now, when you say that, what comes to my mind is a very 80s looking keyboard where it's a guitar, but it's also...
That's a keyboard. That's a keytar.
Yeah, that's what I think when you say that.
Yeah, that is not at all. And plus, I have to also preface, our budget wasn't that big. I'll get to that later.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, so I was there, and about 4 or 5 weeks before the regular school year started, we all started going to band camp. And that means like all of the students, freshmen through seniors in the band, had to come to the school grounds for a certain amount of time of the day, usually about 7 hours, give or take, and just rehearse nonstop with breaks for lunch and water and whatnot. And the purpose of it was to kind of get and show you, like, we're not messing around. This is why you are earning a PE credit with us.
Mm-hmm.
And kind of just build a certain bond with each other, and kind of just... And they kind of let you know from the beginning, like, this isn't for everyone, and if you can't handle this, you don't have to keep going on.
Mm-hmm.
And I specifically remember, and I gotta tell you, when the school year started, it was hard adjusting because I have this condition called autism spectrum disorder, which makes it kind of harder for me to socialize or pick up social cues, so to speak. And it was really hard for me to juggle marching band, juggle various different school assignments I had. And my friends and I, all of us freshmen, we constantly complained about it, and we were like, man, after this season, we're going to quit. And we said that for the next 4 years.
That's the thing too, yeah. Like,
yeah.
I always remember my friends being like, oh, we're gonna quit.
Yeah.
Oh, we're gonna quit. But you
Yes.
can't. It's a drug. You can't quit.
Yes, and the reason why it's a drug is because there's a certain sensation I get from that's the wrong word. There's a certain feeling or kind of
like sensation is
yeah,
fine. I just laughed at
elation
it.
or elation I get from performing because so I was at a 6A high school for the first 2 years and a 5A high school. If you don't know, 1 through 6A is how the UIL determines the size and budget of your band and how they also arrange your competitions for the year.
Also, I was in theater, and we also did UIL competitions, and my school was a 5A when I was there.
What school did you go to?
I went to Leander High School in the
Oh,
Leander.
you went to Leander?
Yeah.
Yeah. Your band was cool.
Oh yeah, our band was very good.
Yeah.
And I don't want to like take it away from you, but I just wanted to say that our band did very well, and they went to state a few times. And our football team fucking sucked.
Oh, same.
But they still got all the money.
Same.
And I'm mad about that. But we can talk.
I'll get to that later.
Yeah, we'll talk about that later.
Okay, so it was freshman year. I can't remember if it was a competition or a game specifically, but we were playing at halftime. We were playing our show. It was called Wild. And the theme was, like, we were out in the wild. We were, like, these wild animals, like an untamed or unbroken horse or all this stuff. And we were using all this different music, some of which was in the public domain, some of which we had to pay copyright for. And we played it. And there was a moment. Can't even remember exactly what happened, but at that moment, I felt free because we always, with very few exceptions, the band always plays at halftime, which is about 10 to 15 minutes, and it's kind of like what a lot of people think sports is for them. Whatever you did the week before, whatever bullshit you had to go through at that point, it doesn't matter. For those 10 minutes, I felt free. It was like the first time in a long time that I felt truly alive and I was part of something that was actually special, at least to me. And I realized, I think I'm gonna stick around to see how far I can go with this, like what my maximum dosage is, so to speak.
What I think you're describing, because I've had that feeling too, because I used to be an actor in high school.
I can see you with a beret.
Yeah, I did a lot more acting in high school than I do here in college. And, I loved being on stage and performing, especially when it's live.
Oh, yeah.
Live performance is extremely different from, being recorded.
Yes.
For the small or the big screen.
Yes.
Live performance is you have people in front of you, and the lights are on you, and you're sweating, and at any moment, things could go wrong. But things could go well, too.
Oh, I've had a handful of performances where things fucked up really bad.
Yeah.
But the thing about marching band is we have to learn how to recover, and we have to learn how to have a chemistry because you don't necessarily the people in the band don't necessarily have to like each other, but we have to respect each other.
You have a common goal.
Yes, we have to respect each other because we know we're going towards the same end game, and we have the same purpose, and we want to basically give the audience something that they won't forget for a long time. Yeah. And how do I put this?
What you're describing is, again, a feeling that I've had before on stage. And it's that moment of you've rehearsed this a million times, but it's, especially in theater, how I describe it and how I differentiate marching band from theater is marching band as a whole, as a group. You are moving as one. In theater, it's a little more skewed. You could have a show that is prominently one person, or it could be an ensemble of people. Yes. And especially my senior year, we did the show Picnic, and that was an ensemble cast.
Gotcha.
And I played the mother, because of course I did. And we know the show back and forth, but everyone in that show had a little moment of that feeling free. And what I call it's a sort of a performance high. That
Yes.
moment of like,
Yes,
this
that
is
is-
your moment to shine. The
Yes.
audience sees you directly, and you just feel like you're on
Yes.
top of the world.
Yes, that is true. And the thing is, one of the myths about marching band is that it's just a bunch of people, like sweaty, not unattractive nerds who are marching in straight lines for for 8 or 10 minutes. That is absolutely not true.
Mm-hmm.
First of all, I've worked with a bunch of marchers who are fucking gorgeous, and
Oh yeah.
yeah,
Oh,
but my other point is that everyone on the field, even though like we're all part of a big show, we all have a different purpose, and there are moments when certain sections or instruments shine more than others. So a marching band show, generally speaking, is broken down into 4 parts, sometimes
movements,
3.
right?
Yes, you have the opener, which is like it kind of starts off soft, and then it kind of just it feels kind of triumphant, like okay, this is what we're going for. After that, you have your ballad, which is a much softer, more melodic tune that kind of slows things down, maybe, and kind of, in some ways, if the show is telling a story, it kind of starts elevating what's going on that story, so to speak. Then you have, in some cases, sometimes this doesn't happen, but sometimes you do have what's called a percussion break, where the entire percussion section just breaks out into their own sort of huge ensemble-ish solo, where they get, and that's basically their chance to shine, especially for the drum line. Sometimes the center snare, who essentially is the section leader of the group, gets a solo, and then finally you have the closer, which brings everything back to a close and ties it all up in this beautiful, triumphant final note that just brings the whole thing together. It tries to get the audience to their feet cheering for what they saw. And sometimes sections would have certain moments to shine, like the synthesizer, for example. There were a couple of times where I would have a little solo that would introduce the ballad, or a saxophone, or a bass clarinet would have a solo on the mic at the front. One other thing, though, is that sometimes it is hard to hear other sections because the trumpets are fucking loud, even when they shouldn't be, and it's very hard to hear flutes or piccolos a lot of the time.
Really? I feel like, because I was also in choir, and I was an alto. I don't know if you can tell by just my voice.
Yeah.
But fun fact, I was a section leader for the altos for a year and a half, and I don't know how to hand sign. I faked it. And I would always stand right in the middle of the alto section so I could hear everyone else, because I'm pretty good at like matching tones. But the thing is, I had to stand in the middle because sometimes my ear would linger over to the sopranos.
Yes.
And when I think sopranos, I think flutes and piccolos. Something, very high that anyone can hear.
Yeah. So that was my freshman year. So my sophomore year, we kind of did the same thing. We had a brand new show. And I should preface, most of the time, high school bands will have the same exact show the entire fall season, whereas college bands will have multiple shows in one season. I'll get to that later. But we had a new show. So the UIL does this weird thing where it alternates different like sections every year. Like this year we're doing 1, 2, and 6A UIL stuff. This year we're doing 5A and whatnot. So we went to this competition that was pretty much in the middle of buttfuck nowhere, and we won almost everything, and it felt really awesome. That was probably the first year that I really started to feel like I was growing a true bond with my bandmates, because the first year we went to practice together and whatnot, but and occasionally saw each other in class, but it didn't go much further beyond that. For sophomore year, several grouped me, and which are always fun.
I have like 5 that are muted right now.
Yeah, I'm in too many. And anyway, so we set that up. We started to try and organize stuff to do outside of band, so that we could and try and make sure that we have a bond, and that we're not just colleagues or coworkers, but that we're actual friends. And the band would also try to do that too during band camp, because in the last week of band camp we would have a spirit week where we would have like an 80s day where someone would dress up like they were from the 80s. We'd have a gender swap day where someone would come dressed as the opposite sex.
Lord.
We'd have like a beach day where people could come in swimsuits and whatnot. And then the last day of the Spirit Week, we would have it was an initiation ritual, essentially.
Oh, God.
Let me explain.
Never good. Never good.
What happened was, so I had to do this my freshman year too. The freshmen would give a plain white T-shirt to the section leader, and at the beginning of the week, by the end of the week, we would get it back, and it'd be altered. Basically, like for example, my shirt that I got my first year it had an old used pizza box taped onto it.
Okay, fashion. We love fashion.
Yeah. And the basic idea is we would like take it and we'd on the last day of Spirit Week we'd have them wear it for a couple of hours, and the main goal is it couldn't be anything that was too uncomfortable, and it had to be something that we ourselves would be willing to wear. And oftentimes what would happen is the upperclassmen would do it for their band buddies, and band buddies usually are underclassmen or freshmen that team up with a upperclassman.
Like they're a big little situation.
Yeah, sort of like a mentor.
Yeah,
they kind of just show them the ropes and what's going on. So my senior year, for my band buddy, her name was Amanda Gold, and I decided to throw a bunch of shit on there that was gold-like, which was like a bunch of like those bead necklaces, like really cheap stuff.
Yeah, like
I just
Mardi Gras stuff.
Yeah, and I just glitter and whatnot, and I just glued it on there and threw it on. And there were other times like there was this one where we attached the shirt to the back tire of a car and just drove it up and down the street. There was one that was just it was torn up and whatnot. The worst one though was one that we stuffed into a plastic bag. We put we put Doritos,
oh god,
milk, and a few other things I can't remember. Mixed it up, and we eventually let him take it off early because he was getting sick from it.
God.
Yeah, and then at the very end of band camp, we would all have a water balloon fight where we all would collect our water balloons and we like just throw them at each other to mark the end of band camp because we're finally getting water. For the record, don't let anyone tell you that water isn't important because it will save your life, and I've witnessed at least one person almost pass out every time I've been in a marching band.
Oh yeah, you gotta drink water.
Yes.
When you're marching, especially like on blacktop, stay hydrated.
Yes. Yeah. Some schools will give you like a school-issued gallon to have. Other times they'll just let you bring your own. I brought my... I think I had a school-issue one, then I lost and I brought my own.
So what you're basically like stating here is you and the rest of your bandmates have this camaraderie.
Yes.
And what I think...
Absolutely.
Especially like with something as tough as marching band is, you're giving up part of your summer to march in this heat, and you are practicing this thing that you will perform basically, every other week until December.
Yeah, like
so you need to like at least tolerate these people.
Yes. There have been times when I've wanted to punch some of them in the face, but as I grew older, I was like, no, I could probably get charged with assaulting a minor if I do that.
God.
But because I turned 18 before any of my friends.
Oh yeah, and the thing is, I saw a lot of this when
I'm sure you saw a bunch of this crap in a theater.
Oh, not just theater, but like in any of the arts, really.
Oh yeah,
and in choir too.
There are gonna be some days where you just don't want to talk. You're just in a bad mood. I've had a lot of these days, and I would unjustly take my frustration out of my bandmates. But I found that it was a much healthier way for me to just put all of my energy and frustration into the performance, because it was much healthier, and because that's another thing, is also acts as a catharsis a lot of the time.
Oh yeah, art is cathartic.
Yeah.
Art can be like a relaxation, but it
Yeah.
also can be a cathartic release.
Yeah, I actually did a mini thesis on music therapy my senior year.
Oh yeah,
That's
music can tame the beast.
Oh, I know. Anyway, junior year, let's not talk about that.
We don't have to if you don't want
Yeah,
to.
it wasn't a great year for band because we blew most of our budget on 9 measures of music.
Of like music from someone else?
Yes.
Like someone famous?
Yes, we blew most of our budget on 9.5 measures.
Can you say who? Are you legally...
Yes. It was a song called Wake Up. I can't remember the name of the artist, but it was like... I have a terrible singing voice, but it was like, wake up, you're sleeping hard.
The Green?
Maybe.
Well, I'm not going to play it here because I don't want to get sued. I see most of the time my high school marching band had music that they did within their movements.
Yeah. Oh, and the thing is, most of the time in high schools, especially ones that don't have a huge budget, most of the time they'll try to pull something that's from the public domain. Now moving on to my senior year, we used Night on Bald Mountain from Fantasia. The whole theme of the show was Nocturne, and we managed to get away with using part of the theme song from Interstellar in the very beginning, including like a recording of Do Not Go Into That Gentle Night by Anthony Hopkins.
Yeah, I've heard that in a few different bands before.
Yeah, so we did that, and we did a couple other songs that year, and that was probably my favorite year of marching band, because that year we had moved from 6A to 5A. Although that was also our last year as 5A because we had a huge influx of freshmen.
So you were 6A and then you went down to 5A?
We were 6A my first 2 years. Then we moved down to 5A. And then right as my senior year began, we went over the quota for required 6A schools. Apparently we were like a few hundred students over capacity actually. And then we moved down to 5A.
So you still did UIL?
Oh yeah. And that year, I guess in a lot of ways it felt like a culmination of the last 3 or 4 or 5 years, because suddenly everything we were doing felt like it was coming to an end, obviously because we were graduating soon. And
so basically, for your story, you were essentially on top because it was your senior year, but also you're riding high because it's your senior year and you're like top dog in band and you have a little... No?
Let me get there.
Okay, all right.
So I didn't realize what an asshole I was in high school until my senior year. And I didn't like that I was, but there's not much. I can't go back and change the past because I really wish there are some people I know from band that I wish I could go back and say, I'm sorry I was such a big asshole to you, and thank you for actually putting up with my bullshit for that amount of time. But my senior year, I turned 18 before any of my friends. And because of that, they kept asking me hey man, can you buy me some vape juice or cigarettes or whatnot? I was like, no. And I knew they were partially joking because they knew I was too pure for that shit. But I was like, no, I'm not doing that.
What's a vape?
Oh no, there was a lot of vape. And make no mistake.
There was a lot of vape.
Yes.
Make no mistake.
Sometimes some people in my section would take a hit before we go out to a performance, just as a confidence thing.
Oh man, I just gotta get that hit in before this performance.
There was at least a couple of people I remember who took these eye drops that were laced with LSD.
Why?
And they put it in, and for the next
You're a high school band geek. What kind of drugs do you need on to be a rock star to go? I'm sorry, what?
Well, that's another thing I wanted to say is that one of the big stereotypes about marching band in high school is that it's just a bunch of sweaty, unattractive nerds who are kind of unsocial.
We got a bunch of vape and drug heads going on out there with red eyes.
Not drug heads, but just And I'll say this, as far as I know, at least, none of I think most of them had a mutual pact not to do any hard drugs.
Not any
Yeah.
hard drugs, but the soft drugs are free game.
Yeah, because I have never known anyone who died from smoking weed. Anyway, so back to my point. I turned 18 my senior year before most of my friends, and we actually started hanging out a lot more. Sometimes after games, even though it was really late in the night, we would go out to, say, Whataburger after a game just to...
Always. Whataburger's the place to go.
Yeah.
Especially after football games in Texas.
Or sometimes, if anyone here has heard of Kirby Lane, we'd sometimes go there, and we'd go there and we'd talk, and we just kind of decompress and kind of talk about what's going on.
Yeah. Theater kids would always go to either Chili's or...
Chili's?
Chili's or IHOP. IHOP was our, go-to.
Wait, was it still IHOB at that point?
No, it's IHOP.
Okay,
but,
good.
So you and your friends are
Yeah, we built more of a bond. We tried to hang out more outside of class. At that point, I think the best thing I can say about my time in marching band, at least what my friends and I did in marching band, is that we tried to create a stronger sense of camaraderie between each other, especially with the new people and the freshmen. And that obviously felt really great. And that kind of helped us a lot because sometimes we would go out to competitions. And for example, so if you guys don't know how marching band UIL goes, it starts out at region, then it goes area, and if you're really lucky, you'll get to state. Now, Area D, that was my area, was one of the hardest and most cutthroat areas to get through in the state of Texas. Because marching band in the state of Texas is extremely competitive.
Anything theater too, UIL. I believe that Texas is the only state that does UIL.
Yes, that is true. But fun fact, UIL is the largest organization of its kind in the whole world.
Yeah, so I just looked it up.
Yeah.
UIL, which stands for
University Interscholastic League.
Yes, and it's literally a map, and it just shows Texas.
Yep, and what happens is that it's super competitive in Texas. The only other real place in the United States where marching band is this competitive is in the Midwest, in Indiana. And I'll talk more about drum corps in a little bit because that has to do with Indiana. But in Texas, so we got straight ones my senior year, which, if you don't know, that basically means highest marks. And it's basically a sweepstakes. So we advanced to area. Area was, I believe, October 28th, 2017. We had to leave pretty early on Saturday morning because there were a lot of bands playing there, and it was in Cedar Park.
Oh, hey.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And we played relatively early in the afternoon, and afterwards we went to a nearby mall or something I can't remember where it was, but we went to a mall to get lunch, kind of fraternize and whatnot. And then we came back and we watched the rest of the bands play. Because if there's one thing I can attest about most marching bands, is that you always have to respect the other band. Because regardless if your schools are bitter rivals, you both understand that you work extremely hard, sometimes harder than the football team itself.
Oh yeah, fuck football.
Yeah, oh yeah, my football team fucking sucked.
Oh, our football team fucking sucked too.
Hey!
Nice. Anyway.
And so the prelim round finished, and about 10 bands would be chosen to go on in the second round. And we weren't sure what would happen. And then they called our band next as the second band to perform, and we lost it.
Yeah.
It was so cool, and I remember screaming at the top of my lungs and whatnot. It was cool. So, but also one thing that some people might not tell you is even you have to also be respectful to the bands that didn't make it because they worked really hard, and maybe they deserve it more than you, but sadly not all the judges see it that way. So
how we did UIL for theater was a little different. Did you guys have judges that were judging you?
Yes.
So did you have 3, or how many did you guys have?
I can't remember, but I gotta be honest with you, I never understood why theater has UIL to begin with.
It is different because every section has 3 new judges, so it's 3 new opinions. Like I'm gonna go derail you a bit, but it sort of goes into UIL itself. My junior year, we did the 39 steps, and
the Hitchcock.
Yes, Hitchcock, but this is the comedy version for the stage. And we were at area, which is before regionals. In areas, we got like straight ones. The judges loved us. They thought we were funny. Then we got to regionals, which is right before state. So we thought we were hot shit.
Yeah.
And then we did our performance. We thought we did a good job. And then we were ranked the bottom because all 3 judges didn't like comedy.
Yeah, that's another problem with UIL is the majority of judges that are chosen. Sometimes judges can apply for UIL in marching band, but the majority of the time they're old white men or occasionally old white women.
Oh,
and,
yeah.
And there's also a lot of controversy over whether or not like electronic instruments are allowable in marching bands.
Oh yeah, especially UIL has so many rules.
Oh yeah.
I remember my senior year we had to like deconstruct a bit of our set because of some rules that apparently we one judge was a real stickler for it, so we had to take it down a bit.
Anyway, so we made.
But you were saying the camaraderie that you had, not only with your own band but other bands, and the respect that you guys had for each other.
We all sympathize with each other because most of the time, with very few exceptions, we all knew that the band would almost always come second to the football team.
Oh yeah, I remember before performance for UIL, all of the troops, what we call the theater groups, would do like an exchange of gifts. And sometimes what we did, my troop, we would sing them a song based on their show. And a lot of the time we knew a lot of the students from the different schools. Had my senior year, we had a really good camaraderie because we advanced together because our district will advance together.
One of my best friends, his name's JP Benson. He played in the McCallum band, and the McCallum band is a really good program because they are a fine arts school or a magnet school, and I was cheering him on even if it meant we couldn't advance. So we got past the prelims at the area. We got 7th overall in that. We were preparing to perform, and so our first performance went really well. Our second performance, something happened in the opener, which is the first movement, where something in the percussion section created this tear in the metronome, in the beat, that kind of just made it. And as we tried to fix it, it just made things it made it larger and larger, and we didn't realize what we could do. And then the only reason we were saved is because the low brass came in with their part and pretty much saved us. I was really mad about it afterward, and I screamed at some of the people on the drum lines, "Why'd you fuck that up?" And they were like, "No, I thought you guys did." And this is back and forth, and just. I thought, oh, shit, we're screwed now. That wasn't, and also I gotta tell you, I was not safe with some of the equipment I had in high school.
Come on.
I'm serious.
No.
So this is from my senior year alone. So during band camp, there were 2 synths. It was me and a guy named Colin Vaughn. And we were both connected to this AirMac Pro, and that gave us all of our sound and all of our power. And pretty much said okay, during this part of the show, hit this thing on the hit this thing right here, and make sure it's this sound for that effect. And we were untangling. We were kind of packing up one day for band camp. I accidentally forgot to unplug it, and the AirMac kind of just flipped over and hit the ground.
Oh no.
Yeah, and I went to my teacher, I apologized for what happened, and thankfully they were able to recover the hard drive, so they still had all the sounds we needed. Then later, at a different contest in Seguin. Do you know Seguin?
Yeah, I know Seguin.
Yeah, it's pretty much buttfuck nowhere. But we were at a contest in Seguin, and we also did a day and night performance there. And after the day performance, I was rolling my synth down the sidewalk.
Uh-oh.
I hit a bump, and it slid off and hit the ground, but I managed to quickly pick it up. And I thought, okay, it's fine. I picked it up. It didn't sound like it hit too bad. Within half an hour of our second performance, I heard a rattling sound. And it turned out I had accidentally broken our synth and turned it into a rain stick.
A rain stick?
Yeah, because there was a bunch of jiggling.
Oh, God.
Yeah, and I fingered the entire performance. But the thing is, I made up for it by doing all these really kind of emotional sways and whatnot.
I'm sure that helped.
Oh, no, it actually did, because the first thing the judge said on his tape was, this synth player over here, he's got a really interesting emotional travel about him. And that was literally the first thing we heard when we got the judge's tape, when we were listening to it. And my director was like, whatever you're doing, keep doing it. So we finished our second performance at Area, and we were we ate food. It was really cold that night. So we were we were waiting up in the stands. A bunch of people were actually they were huddling together with these humongous blankets and whatnot, to preserve warmth. So they had called up the rest of the bands to play, and only 6 bands from this area would be able to advance to state. So they called the first 5 schools, and they were kind of the typical rich schools, Dripping Springs, Cedar Park, McCallum, Rouse, Georgetown, and then they said and last but not least, Austin High School, and we fucking lost it.
Uh-huh.
We kind of jumped up in the air. We probably celebrated harder than anyone else that night because it was the first time we made it to state in 37 years.
Oh my God.
Yeah, and this was our senior year, and it felt really good, and I just remember it was super late at night. It was way after midnight by the time we got back. I just remember thinking on the bus ride back, because for the record, in marching band, you will learn how to sleep on a school bus.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
We did that in theater too.
Yeah, but I was on my way, and I just couldn't stop thinking about it because I was so happy, and I was just thinking, I kind of just was going through this whole thing where I had probably the most satisfaction I'd ever felt in a long time, and I also thought, this is what I want to do for the rest of my life, something creative, something fulfilling, something that it makes me feel like I'm a part of. And a couple weeks later, we went to state. There were 35 bands in Texas that were competing in a 5A. I think, and honestly, I sweated probably the hardest I ever sweated during that performance. It was probably the best performance we had ever done. And actually, on the day that we were leaving, we were excused from school, and we were as we were about to leave on the charter bus, we come out and we had saw the football players, the cheerleaders, the dancers, 2 middle school bands, and a bunch of random students had come out to cheer us off and whatnot, and it was really validating because it felt like, holy crap, all of our hard work, it's all finally paid off. It's finally coming full ahead, and we're all here in the moment. And we stopped at Cheesecake Factory on the long.
Oh shit! Cheesecake Factory.
Yeah, for lunch.
Damn.
For
Y'all got
lunch.
money. Or at least celebrating once this year.
Celebrating.
Yeah.
And we were all just talking about how we felt about being cheered off like that, and how we felt like we were gonna do. And I honestly, to this day, I still think it is one of the best performances I've ever done. And I still vividly remember, me and my friends were talking, this could be the last time we all ever play on the field together ever again. Because we're graduating. Some of you might not be in band next year. And who knows what happens. And now I will say, some people will say they do BOA, which is Bands of America. We didn't do that. We didn't have that kind of money. Mm-hmm. We just did UIL. Out of the 37 bands, we ranked 27th. And
out of how many?
35.
I mean, hey.
Yeah, and you know what? I could be wrong, but guess how many 5A bands there are in the state of Texas?
Jesus Christ, I don't know.
1,109.
Okay, God, oof.
You can correct me if I'm wrong.
Oh, I don't know.
But,
I'm not even going to attempt to look that up.
Yeah, but that's... I was really upset at first when we didn't make the finals, but when I heard that, I was like, you know what? I'm okay with this. Because we did our best. we came here for the first time in almost 4 decades, and I got to do something I love with some of the best friends of my life.
Yeah, the idea of competition in UIL, it's so... Because Texas is such a competitive state.
Oh, yeah.
Like, everyone says, like, oh, football's a religion here. Well...
It is.
You know, and everything around football, too, is, like, banned as well.
There are 4 things that are worshipped as much as church down here. Saturday Night Football, a good cold beer, the oil industry, and band.
Oh my god, yeah. But, like, as a theater person, I also see this other side of competition. Because in my high school, we were a 5A, and our football team fucking sucked.
Yeah.
But our band and our theater and everything else was very good.
Oh, our band, we had the highest respect for y'all.
Oh my god. But no, like you said, the camaraderie between your different departments.
Oh yeah.
Like we were really good friends with Dripping Springs because we had some people move from Dripping Springs to Leander, and then we also had friends in Vista Ridge High School because we traveled together. We traveled up too. And like my senior year, I had sort of the same story as you. Because the year before we kind of failed at regionals because the judges hated comedy. And I believe we were at the same high school too. I'm going to say we were because it's a good storytelling. But like when we were announced first place and we were going to state, that moment, it was just so electric.
I know.
We were all like, holy shit. And then our bus ride home was amazing because we kind of sprung, because it was in San Antonio, so we stayed the night. And we got like this fancy bus with like comfortable seats in a bathroom. And we stopped at Buc-ee's. That's the thing that you do. Yeah. We stop at Buc-ee's and we were like celebrating. We were like on top of the world.
Hot take, I don't really like Buc-ee's that much.
Oh, I only like Buc-ee's because it's like, you got to make the pilgrimage to it.
I know. I did it my freshman year just so I don't have to do it again. Mm-hmm. And I will say this, it was kind of that going to state was really validating for me because I had always tried to prove to people, friends, my family, teachers, why band meant so much to us. Yeah. And actually accomplishing something so great, more so than our football team did or a lot of other departments did, it felt really validating, especially when we saw all those people cheering us off when we went off to state. Because we felt like heroes, and bringing the story full circle, right before we left, I got everyone to chant the SpongeBob theme.
The theme song?
Yes.
Oh, that's cute.
Yeah, because I was thinking, because I had suddenly remembered Band Geeks and why I got into it. And I just started saying, like, are you ready, kids?
Yeah.
Yes, and thankfully, they were ready, and they knew the song. Marching band is also good, because you'll get some good memes.
Oh, yeah, there was very many memes. I remember the trumpets in our department, in our band were very memey. And
oh, yeah, there was a point in time where the low brass section in my high school worshipped Harambe.
Oh, Lord. Oh,
and
hi 2016.
We were my junior year, we were at a game and there was like this big storm rolling in and like someone stood up and was like, Harambe's coming.
Oh Lord, that's so old.
Yeah, I know that saying that I feel old. And that's like the main thing. And
so your full story from
a wee lad
watching SpongeBob and then learning how to play the piano, then learning how to play the drum, and then going to middle school, picking up percussion, and then, going through all 4 years of high school and then going to state your senior year.
Yes. And I will say one thing is one of the most rewarding things for me is one, when I get to meet other people who have been in bands and we get to share experience and see how different we were, and that's always really exciting. The second thing is when I get to see people, because I'm still in the Bobcat Marching Band here at school, and it also gets me an $800 scholarship.
Oh!
Yeah.
Ooh, okay.
Ooh. But it comes like at the end of the semester. But the most rewarding part was actually this last fall. We were at the A&M game, which was a fucking slaughter, by the way. And near the end of the third quarter, or around the start of the fourth, the head coach's wife Megan Spavital, came up to me, and we were talking, and she said, like, she had been watching us, and she kind of said, hey, I just want to let y'all know that you have, that me and the other coaches' wives and families have been watching y'all tonight, and y'all have really lifted our spirits and made it a whole lot more fun and really given us hope. And honestly, that was really touching to hear.
Yeah.
From someone who has no affiliation with band or athletics at all, and that kind of is one of those moments where that reaffirms why I love doing this.
And I just wanted to ask you, because you kind of said you were a little bit of an asshole in...
Yes.
Yeah, because, like, I feel like everyone is sort of a little... Because, like,
Yeah.
when you're in this group, you kind of, like, not isolate yourself from everyone else, because, like, oh, I'm a part of this
Yeah.
group, and I'm better than you because we're doing so well. And I
Some-
don't want to say
yeah,
I did
some-
that in high school, but I may have done
I will
it.
say every now and then when a person who wasn't in band would walk into the band hall, we'd
Oh.
all just start chanting like, "Not in band, not in band."
Yeah, whenever someone came into the theater room, you're like, what the fuck is this? Because we would eat in there, you know.
Ah, okay.
So how exactly did band change you from, like, your wee little freshman to, like, I would even say now, since you're still in band?
I think it changed me in a lot of ways because it made me a much more social person. Like I said, I have autism, and that really hindered a lot of social skills growing up. But after joining band, it kind of helped me to interact with people more and go out a little more and find a way to express my emotions or my thoughts, like, in a really artistic way, and that's helped me a lot. It's also helped me because it taught me to be on time always, because to be early is to be on time, to be on time is to be late, and to be late is to be dead.
Fired. Oh,
To be
dead.
dead.
To be dead too, sure.
Yeah, that's what we said. And it also taught me to be organized, because I like to have things in a specific order or fashion. And that really helped me figure out, like, okay, I can organize this, like, this is the process that I have to go through, like, this is how I put on my uniform, this is how I set up the equipment, this is how we do all this ritual stuff, you know? Or not ritual stuff, but, like, just kind of rite of passage stuff. And I will say, I think in Texas, even if you aren't in the football team itself, it's kind of, if you're a young person, a man, it's kind of a rite of passage to play under those Friday night lights in some way. I know that sounds kind of cheesy, but it really is. And
Then what about all the folks that don't play under the Friday night lights?
let me tell you about. I'm not sure if it's much of a rite of passage.
I know you were saying, like, something
Yeah.
like heartfelt and cheesy.
Yeah, it's
so
like-
I'm just
Yeah, but it's
just
very
pulling on your tail there.
Yeah, but it is like the lights of a football stadium on Friday night, like, are very well kept and well and well respected in
The
the state
only
of
reason
Texas.
why I went to football games in high school was for the
Yes.
band.
And I will say,
yeah.
the band, no matter what, is always the football team's biggest fan.
Really.
Yes, that's what we tell ourselves, because we're with them at all of their games. We're with them. We're cheering them on at pep rallies.
Mm-hmm.
We're also shout outs and whatnot. And we every now and then I guess I saw on there, like, you had a question about like our relationship with sports.
Yeah.
The thing is, growing up, I didn't really like sports. I grew up in a household that lived, breathed, and ate football, especially college football, like for for UT. And I never really got into it. I would say marching band was the first time I actually started getting into sports, because I finally had, like, a team to sympathize for and root for. Increased my appreciation in that sort of sense. And I'll say this right now, the marching band is vastly underfunded in Texas and various other states, because the vast majority of a budget of a school's budget goes into the football team, even if that football team is not good. And sometimes, and oftentimes, so what the Bobcat Marching Band is fortunate because we dip into the athletic department's budget. But for band, we'd be given a baseline budget at the beginning of the year, and then we'd have to raise the rest of the amount ourselves, depending on what our show was. It was high strung, making sure that we had all the resources necessary. Especially, we also tried to have a bit of friendly rivalry going on. But yeah, so I grew up in a sports-heavy household. My brother was involved in football and basketball. My sister was in volleyball for a little while, and then she became a theater nerd. And she's no longer in college, but she was in high school, and she also found a big camaraderie there. So I think she understood like where I was coming from with my passion for band as like her passion for theater, although I was way more into my group than she was into hers. And I could tell most of the time my family, whenever they would come see me at a game, they were just there to see me and not our team, and that's okay. I gotta say, I think the band suddenly became more respected with the sports department after we made state, because they realized, oh shit, our band is doing way better than our football team, which has a much bigger budget. And we also tried to have a bit of a friendly rivalry with our orchestra.
Was there any crossover between the orchestra and the band?
Yeah, sometimes.
Because how we did it at my high school is we had, marching band was in the fall, and then orchestra was in the spring.
Orchestra started in the fall and spilled over into spring, but we had some crossover there. It was also kind of difficult because because my senior year, the orchestra's budget was heavily slashed, and they always had this thing in October called Monster Mash, now where they would raise money, and I went there to support them, and I tried to bring some other band friends to go to support them, because a lot of my friends, I have some friends who are in orchestra but not in band, and I really want to preserve the performing arts, because they are gradually losing their respect in the country, and that really makes me sad.
Oh yeah, every arts department, performing arts or just arts itself is being slashed.
Yeah.
And you've talked a lot about high school, but right now you're still in college marching band.
Oh yeah.
So how is high school marching band similar or different from college marching?
It is very different.
Oh. Because
in college there are no competitions that band partakes in. We sometimes perform like as a guest performer at, say, a UIL performance, or at a band jamboree, which is essentially a marching band festival, or say Bands of America. But beyond that, it's very much for like the entertainment of the crowd. We often do popular songs, sometimes incorporating it into our acts, and it's obvious that we have way more money.
And you said you dip into the
yes, and we do, and we actually. The marching band just celebrated its 100th anniversary this past year.
I do remember hearing about that. Yes.
And it was really big for us because a bunch of alumni from years past came and played with us in feature performances, some of whom haven't touched their instruments in about 20 or 30 years.
Lord.
It was cool to see that, but it's much more casual. It's not as restrictive as... So I'll just say this. Band will not always take up all of your time in high school, nor will it take all of your time in college. Mm-hmm. Because in high school, there's only a certain amount of hours per week that they are legally allowed to work and to rehearse because of child labor laws and so on.
Oh, yeah, you're right.
Yeah, there's only a legal amount of hours for that. However, for college, it's different. And we would only rehearse like 3 times a week, 4 if we have a game that day. And we do have a band camp, and we actually and incoming freshmen are allowed to move in early, so they can accommodate to that. Mm-hmm. Because, I would say like, in some ways the bond might be a little stronger or more immediate than a high school band, because you're literally living with these people now and spending more time with them.
Yeah.
But at the same time, in high school band, you probably grew up with a lot of these people. So, and like I said, you get an $800 scholarship for performing in the band. In some places it's different, like, especially for HBCU bands, they have huge scholarships if you're part of the band, because they are extremely well respected, especially in the South, with this event called the Battle of the Bands, where places like Morehouse or Emory or various other HBCU bands, and also their culture, like their style of band, HBCUs, is very different from what you probably know as a marching band. Like, they're much more focused on entertainment and, like, entertaining the crowd and getting them involved and whatnot. Whereas other times, most bands are focused, like, on, like, core stuff. And that's another thing is this thing called Drum Corps International, DCI, which is essentially, like, the closest thing that marching band has to a pro sports equivalent. Where people come together for these different groups or teams, and they spend the entire summer rehearsing together and playing together, all culminating in the World Championship in Indiana. And that's one of the reasons why Indiana is so big on marching band.
So, kind of coming off of that, there is not very famous, but a well-known movie that basically goes into DCI, or is it which one
HBCU,
is it? The HBC.
Drumline.
Drumline, yeah.
Yes.
I have it IMDb open right now. It's from 2002, and it stars Nick Cannon.
Yes.
What is your opinion on it? Because what I've heard, because I watched it when I was a kid with like my older cousins.
Yes.
And it is about college marching band, but it is not just like it's like marching band with like the drum line at its core.
Yep. So I will say again, that is based on an HBCU band, which is completely different from what I played in all my life. That being said, there are some parts of the movie that actually get it somewhat right. For example, they get some of the lingo right. They kind of capture like the idea that the whole band is one team, the concept of one band, one sound. It's with very few exceptions, it's not just about one single performer. You're all a team and we got to work together to get through this. Aside from that, the movie itself is just fine. It kind of disappoints me that it's like the only thing in mainstream media that people know of when they think about marching band. And that kind of leads into
there's also Band Camp from the American Pie series.
I have not watched that.
They mostly focus on the relationships and like sex and this girl stuck a thing up her vagina.
Yeah, I know this one time at band camp thing.
But
That's like a meme in the band community because we're like, ugh, that's so stupid. But yeah, there are a lot. Make no mistake, there's a lot of relationship drama in band.
Oh, God, please, honey, I was in a department that is literally named drama.
Yeah, the only real thing I know about that American Pie movie is this one time at band camp, which has become a meme within the marching band community because we're like, this one time at band camp.
Yeah, but like, so what the mainstream media knows about band camp is through Drumline and American Pie.
Yep, and I am not really happy about that.
So let's go back to you, and I know you because of Film Club.
Yes.
So I was kind of curious on basically how did you go from band to film, or how do you mix the two?
It was kind of an organic process, more or less, because...
Inorganic?
Inorganic. It was inorganic. Really. Anyway.
So it was organic?
Yes.
Okay. That's to make sure.
Basically, so... I had always been a fan like of performing arts and whatnot. I really started to have a bigger appreciation of it in high school as I was being involved in it. And I had always loved movies for a long time. It was kind of like a culmination of different factors because there were some movies I had seen that year that made me suddenly realize I want to make movies now. Because I kind of realized I probably don't have it in me to be a music teacher, to be a band director, you know? I still remember, like, it was either on our way back from area or on our way back from state, and I suddenly thought to myself, you know, this would actually be a really cool movie, and darndest thing, a couple months later, I started writing a feature screenplay about my experience in marching band called Take the Field. And I finished the first draft 10 months later during the winter break of my freshman year in college.
Wow.
And I mostly use my experience in marching band as my research, and I had also gone back and like read the UIL rule books, read the performance or announcer scripts to make sure I could get as much right as possible. I compulsively watched performance videos of various bands so I can make sure, like, okay, so this band went at this time, then this band went at that time. And their show looked like this and that, and I'm still writing it now, and I hope I can make it one day because it's a part of my life that
It's your baby.
Yeah, it's a part of my life that I've never seen like accurately shown on screen before. I'm not sure, it'll be a long time before I can probably do it, but I really want to make it because it's pretty much probably my ultimate catharsis, and my tribute to what it means to me, pretty much as a way to say thank you and I'm sorry to a lot of people I knew, directors, bandmates, band parents, people who are from other schools, people I had probably not been very nice to. That's kind of like where it started, and I got into filmmaking because I had literally, in those 10 months, taught myself how to write a screenplay by reading screenplays for some of my favorite movies just so I knew what I was supposed to do. It basically takes place in one day at area competition. I knew how it started and I knew how it ended. I just needed to find a way to fill in the middle in a way that was interesting to the audience, but still familiar enough for people who've had experiences like mine. And like obviously there are some parts of the script like I had to embellish for dramatic purposes.
Yeah.
But
because that's what all scripts are.
Yeah, that's kind of like where it started because I kind of just wanted to write a tribute to this probably one of the best parts of my life. And it's also, I would say, it helped me learn how to coordinate better, how to collaborate more for film, because I had to collaborate with a lot of people for band, and I'm still, like I said, I'm still working on it to this day, and I hope one day I'm finished with it, and I hope one day I'll actually be in a place where I can realistically make it. There's a quote by Alan Watts that kind of makes me think a lot about it. You will simply become completely absorbed in sound, and therefore you will find yourself living in an eternal now in which there is no past and there is no future. It all becomes one doing, one happening.
And what does that mean to you?
It's kind of like I was talking earlier. It's marching band is an experience I have where as soon as we get on the field, as soon as the music starts playing and the crowd might quiet down, depending on if they're paying attention to us, in those 8 to 10 minutes, I'm invincible.
You have that performance high like we talked about again.
Like I'm high, I'm invincible, and it's like there's no past to worry. There's no past to be anxious about. No future to be concerned about with how we go about it. No worries about like, am I gonna apply to college in time? Just none of that. And that quote kind of reminds me. I would say marching band is essentially an art form of the now. It's something that you spend hours upon hours upon hours studying the same 8 to 10 minutes of music, learning how to do it. And I will say, as a front ensemble, I never got to march. So, because we have these literal heavy instruments. And so we never actually did that. But it's an art form that once it all comes together, all time seems to cease to exist.
Yeah. definitely. What else?
It's-
Like again, with me performing on stage or
Yeah.
any performance, really, it's just like it's about the now
Yes.
and you in that moment.
Yep.
Yeah. So, this now brings us to the thesis of this episode and every episode. Should I and the audience get into it?
I said this near the beginning. Marching band isn't for everyone. It's a very taxing thing.
Mm-hmm.
That being said, I do think you should at least start listening to it more and becoming more interested in it as an art form and as a sport, because I will fight to my grave that it is a sport.
Mm-hmm.
You can look that up. It is a literal sport. I think it's important to just appreciate it because these people are going out with a football team that probably isn't good at all, and they're giving their all. They're sweaty, they're tired, probably to a bunch of students or parents that don't care particularly too much. I think it's just, I want it to be more well known. I'm not saying everyone should join marching band because it is a physically taxing thing, but it is probably the most rewarding thing I've ever had in my life.
Mm-hmm.
And just, there's a moment, I think I said this in the beginning, there's a moment in the performance, I think it's right when the horns come down, and like there's a brief moment of silence before the audience starts cheering. That's it's like we've been talking about this whole time. This performance high. It's something I always look for in my whenever I'm go on the field, whether it's with my high school band, whether it's with the college band. I haven't been to DCI because I could never do that because I can't afford it and because I can't physically do that. Holy shit.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and of course, like, I can't get into marching band literally because what am I going to do, audition for marching band? No, I can't do that. But like I always went to competition, not competitions, but performances for my friends.
Yeah, exactly. And like I said, like, you don't need to be a literal part of this experience to appreciate it and to love it.
And it is very good. Just watching it from like the stadium seats, because you have like a higher ground, and just watching people move.
Oh yeah.
It is extremely wild and beautiful, and like it is, and sometimes when the sound hits you from the stadium, like the sound bounces off, and like you feel it in your bones, and sometimes I get goosebumps.
Oh, me too. I get goosebumps all the time, and that's why I say like the best times I've always had, like the best compliments I've always gotten are from people who aren't involved in the marching band or athletics in any capacity whatsoever, and they come up to you and say, "Hey, you guys did really well today or tonight." That's just like, and I should preface that they're not your parents or relatives.
Yeah.
Because that's really validating and life affirming.
Yeah, and I do agree that it should be considered at least some form of sportsmanship, because God, it's taxing, and some of those instruments are really heavy, you know.
I think the mere
the
mere fact that it's counts as a PE credit, I feel like should say that it is a sport.
Yeah, I do enjoy it because my friends were in it,
and I cannot stress this enough. And I've kept in contact with some high school friends of mine that were in bands, and we had a Friendsgiving this past Thanksgiving, or as they called it, Danksgiving.
Oh, lame.
But it was just so nice to see everybody after about a year and a half, 2 years, and just like catching up with one another, seeing how far we've come, like reminiscing on old times, and just bringing up like all these old memories, like even like little moments, like
you're looking back at the good old days.
Yes and no, because I'm looking back at the good old days, but I also don't want those to be my defining days.
Oh yeah, there's this joke that every time me and my dad pass my high school, I go, "Yep, that's where I peaked."
You have not peaked, not yet.
Oh, not yet. I love that.
That's really all I can give, is that is that it made me a fundamentally better person and changed me for the absolute good. And I'm very glad that I get to share that with you.
Yeah, and that's great. Are there any last like plugs you want to make to social media or anything else you want to shout out? Is there anything that you recommend me and the audience to like listen to or watch that is like band related or anything like that?
So there's this really interesting Netflix documentary show called Marching Orders, which is about an HBCU band. They're all very short. They're like 12-ish minutes long each episode, and that's really fun to watch. And aside from that, just go support your school's band if you can. If you're at college, if you're at high school, just go out and support them and show that yes, we understand, respect, and appreciate you guys for the hard work you're doing. Because I know that marching band is not relevant to everyone, and I know it is not for everyone, but if I can get some people to just finally like appreciate it more or understand the appreciation for it, I think I've done my job. I'll say, if you are in band, do not date other people in band because it will not end well.
Could you give me the name of your YouTube again?
It's my creative partner Taylor writes and I's. It's called Indelible Image Production. So far there is only one short film on there. It's that Taylor and I made last semester called A Truly Stupid Night. We've learned a lot since then.
Good.
And
yeah. It's always
and
good.
I'm honest to God, I could probably never work without her again because she was such a fruitful and collaborative partner.
Well, that is all from us at fan.dom.com. And remember, stay on top.